Welcome back to the Mom to Mom podcast. We're so excited to have you listening to today's episode. It is all about placenta encapsulation. So buckle up.
Cue the like music from Scooby-Doo.
I don't know about you, but when I was pregnant with my first 13 years ago, my doula had offered placenta encapsulation and I looked the other way. And then my best friend at the time asked me if I was encapsulating and I was like, excuse me. And then she was like, well, you're at least going to bury it, right? And I was like, where are my friends and what is happening? So if you have those initial feelings right now, you're not alone.
Yes.
But we find it very important now that we know more information and we have loved this service for many years now.
Mm-hmm.
We're excited to have you for this episode on placenta encapsulation. You are listening to the Mom to Mom podcast, hosted by Stephanie Sinclair and Nikki Zwaber, partners and lead doulas here at How to Mom.
We're moms, we're professionals, and we're here to make motherhood feel a little less heavy and far more supported.
How to Mom is a community built for real life. From pregnancy and birth to postpartum and beyond, we support families through education, connection, and care. Our team of birth and postpartum doulas work with families every day while also sharing stories on our podcast and our blog to curate trusted resources for moms in the Twin Cities and beyond.
On this podcast, we talk about the real stuff, the stories that stay with you, the questions you're already asking, and the moments that feel hard, hopeful, and everything in between.
Absolutely. You will hear honest conversations, expert insight, lived experiences, and reminders that you are not doing this alone.
This is Mom to Mom. We're so glad you're here. And now, on to today's episode. Yes. Let's get started. Why on earth people want to ingest their placenta?
Because the Kardashians did.
Obviously.
No, actually, that is not why. Let's just first start with the basics, okay? Let's go there. Placenta encapsulation is the process of taking your placenta after birth, cleaning it, preparing it, or hiring somebody to do those things.
Yes, more importantly.
And then either using the raw method or the steamed method, which is better known as the traditional Chinese medicine method, and then dehydrating the placenta and then grinding it into a fine powder. And when it gets delivered to your house, it's basically a prenatal vitamin.
Yeah, it's in a capsule. It's in a pill form. And also you should know that the How to Mom capsules are on brand. They're blue and pink and they're adorable.
So. You know it.
And they're vegetarian and vegan, just so you know.
But on a serious note, you guys, I promise you, it truly is your own personalized postpartum supplement.
Yes.
All jokes aside, I was extremely frustrated a couple years ago when the pharmaceutical companies came out with this amazing magic postpartum pill that not only costs a lot of money, but is also not sourced like your beautiful organ that you grew,
right,
and that your baby has fed off of the last 9 to 10 months. It's super unique to your body. You grew it. And in most cases, this whole process that I just very briefly mentioned only takes about 12 to 24 hours and is usually delivered within the first 72 hours after birth.
And there's a really big reason for that delivery within 72 hours, because we really encourage women who are going to go ahead and take the placenta pills to have those on hand and start that regimen when their milk comes in, if breastfeeding is a part of their journey postpartum.
So after our body gets used to no longer having a placenta internally and carrying a baby, this huge hormonal shift occurs during that time and as your mature milk is coming in. So as that milk turns from colostrum to mature milk, it is the biggest. I know this is going to be hard to believe, especially if you are pregnant and hormonal right now. It is the biggest shift a woman ever experiences in a lifetime, is that like 3rd to 5th day postpartum.
Yeah.
And so that is one of the reasons why consuming your placenta can be so helpful. And I just want you guys to know that we specialize in this service here at How to Mom. We believe in it not only as professionals, but as moms who have also consumed their placentas, even when it felt strange and wrong.
When it was uncool.
We've been doing this for a long time. Safety is always a top priority.
Yes.
But really, it might be a trend that seems to be growing, but I want to make sure that you know that this isn't new. Cultures around the world have used it for postpartum recovery for centuries, and every other mammal consumes their placenta right after they deliver it.
Yep. I think now sort of like the generations we're seeing that are turning to the encapsulation for many potential different benefits, right? Some are backed by that tradition. Some are backed by some anecdotal experience, which we're going to talk a little bit about as well. And research is still emerging on it. And so many women, though, really swear by it and talk about their experience postpartum being enhanced because of it.
Yeah. And I know some people, get a little bit concerned because there's not a lot of research out there that says it's positive. But I want to also reassure you, there's also not a lot of evidence out there that's backed by scientific proof that it's not good for you. And the reason why we don't have a lot of studies is because no large organization can make money off of you consuming your own placenta. So nobody's going to fund that research because it's not going to pay them back financially. Correct. So that is really what it comes down to. Anything that's more kind of in the health and wellness world and natural, there's not a lot of research to it because there's nobody funding that research. We do always encourage moms to check out some balanced resources. We have a ton of resources that we would be willing and love to share. We love to point to evidence-based birth. They have an entire podcast episode as well on encapsulation, just to learn more. We're not here to talk you into it. We want you to be able to make an informed decision, knowing that this is an option and it may or it may not align with what you're looking for.
And I think the reasons why moms choose to encapsulate they kind of run the gamut, but we broke it down into like the top 5, I think, that we hear the most and experience the most with providing encapsulation services. First and foremost would be replenishing your nutrients lost during birth. When Steph mentioned earlier that it is incredibly unique to you because you grew it, that's why it is the nutrients that you grew replenishing your body back after birth. It's such an incredible experience giving birth, but it's also really demanding. Placenta is rich in iron naturally, B vitamins, and other minerals that support your energy levels, support your healing. And so many moms that we serve and we've talked to really feel an energy boost when they take their capsules.
Yeah, absolutely. And some feedback that I've received over the past, 10 years of doing this work. One is when we talk about how every other mammal consumes that placenta right after delivery, it is to replenish, like that's just instinctual for them. Sometimes we get a little bit of feedback that no, they actually do that because they're out in the wild and they don't want predators to smell that post-birth smell and know that there's young and babies available. And so there's this really amazing study that my trainer provided us where they took mice in a controlled environment. They had them obviously deliver their babies and then deliver their placentas. And before any action could take place, they put the placentas on one side of the cage and they put the young on the other side of the cage. And the mice went to the placentas first.
Interesting.
So even though it was in a controlled environment, they weren't worried about predators. They knew, kind of like what we tell moms, like your baby is only going to be the healthiest if moms are healthy, right? And so they just instinctually know, I need this nutrients because I just delivered and now I need to take care of young. And so that was really just an interesting research study that I was able to capture and to share as well with people that, you know, kind of have maybe a little bit of that feedback.
Yeah.
We also hear sometimes too, when it comes to nutrients, there's some talk around that, what about the toxins, right, that we are introduced to just in, you know, our environments? Well, your placenta is a filtering organ, right? It doesn't store toxins. So just like it does a phenomenal job when your baby is in utero, it takes all the good nutrients, gives that to baby, and filters out the things that we don't want to go to baby. And so consuming that placenta afterwards really mimics what your baby's been feeding on for those past 9 to 10 months. So I would say that's one of the biggest for sure, is that replenishing.
Reducing postpartum bleeding. Some moms also have reported that their bleeding decreases a little bit faster, possibly because the hormones in the placenta help the uterus contract, helping it to return to its pre-pregnancy size.
That internal wound.
Yeah, that internal wound. And I think the other part of that too is, you know, paying attention to how your body's reacting and how your body's feeling. And again, I feel like it all goes back to replenishing. So if it's replenishing and giving you all of those minerals, like, it will increase and speed up your healing process internally.
Yeah, absolutely. And we already kind of talked about and mentioned the hormonal balancing effects. But the third kind of top reason why people choose to encapsulate is just supporting that hormonal balance. So after birth, your hormone levels take a drastic drop, which can contribute to like those mood swings, those baby blues that we hear about after kind of those first couple of weeks, that postpartum depression and anxiety that can be a really high risk. But since the placenta contains hormones like oxytocin and progesterone, some mothers feel that it really helps ease that transition. So we usually suggest the dosage is kind of at its highest those first couple of weeks, and then you can kind of taper back on that dosage as you get through that hormonal large shift, and as you kind of start to feel a little bit better, and then those pills can kind of last a little bit longer. I always had a really hard time around 9 months postpartum, which I think is sometimes surprising to people. That's around the same time that your baby starts to consume more solids. And so it's really helpful to have those pills to continue through those transitions even later in postpartum as well.
Quick pause. We're interrupting this episode for something important.
Almost everyone prepares for birth, but almost no one plans for after.
The Preparing for Postpartum course from How to Mom helps you get ready for real life healing, emotions, feeding, support, and what those first weeks actually look like.
No scare tactics, no sugarcoating, just honest prep you can access online on your own time and pull up when you actually need it.
And just a reminder to all of our How to Mom clients, don't forget to use your discount code at checkout.
Learn more at howtomom.com under courses. Now, back to today's episode.
I have a quick sequitur question, but like off the beaten path. What would you tell moms who are choosing to formula feed or who are unable to breastfeed? Can you talk a little bit about, because I think we do talk about the benefit of you know, potential milk support, which is the fourth top reason, I think. But I would love to sort of start with the idea if someone is choosing not to breastfeed. Like, can you talk a little bit to your experience about that with consuming placenta?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a really good topic. Regardless of if you choose to breastfeed or not, if you choose to formula feed, or if you attempt to breastfeed and maybe it doesn't go the way that you plan, or maybe there's, you know, some issues in terms of different disorders that some women receive through that hormonal release of breastfeeding. And so it's just no longer like what's best for you and for baby. It's a beautiful thing. We have a lot of options of how we can feed our baby. But regardless of your desire and regardless of your supply, your body still goes through those hormonal shifts. Right. So even if you never put baby to breast, or maybe you just want to breastfeed for those first couple of weeks, or you're attempting and at 3 months you're like, you know what, this is not going well. Your body will always respond to those hormone shifts. Anytime there's a change in our lactation, so whether it's like when the milk is coming in, or if the supply drops, or if the supply increases, or we choose to stop breastfeeding and then we have to kind of dry our milk up, you're going to still experience those hormonal shifts. So I love that every mom gets to choose how they want to feed their baby. But we still hormonally respond regardless of what that journey looks like for us. And so encapsulating can support you regardless.
Yep. I think it's important to share and like be open about like whatever your feeding journey looks like. The placenta encapsulation can still be a really phenomenal option for you if you choose to do that.
No, thank you. I think that's so important. And, you know, that is a good segue into kind of just one of the 5 benefits that we're talking about today is the potential milk supply support. And I will say this is one that there's some varying opinions on. And I really think it's so individually based, right?
I agree.
Because everybody's hormone levels are different. Mm-hmm. Everybody responds differently to different hormone shifts. And so it is not a guarantee that like encapsulating your placenta is going to give you an abundant supply.
Yes, I 100% agree with you. And this is one of the questions I get asked from clients who are considering the placenta encapsulation. Like, oh, well, I heard that it's just, I'm going to be like a milkmaid if I take my placenta.
Yeah.
I mean, I always hope for the best if that's part of your journey. We can't directly correlate it back to any data that would support isolating just your milk supply increasing. It is absolutely potential and certainly can happen, but it's just one of those bigger pieces that where we're at right now with research or lack thereof, right? Like we just don't have that information to say confidently that it guarantees.
Yeah, and I feel like this service is so individually based, and it really is going to come down to you asking other moms who have or have not done it and what their experience was.
Right.
I know that I can speak from my own experience. All of my babies are born through fertility treatments, and so I clearly have hormonal issues, and one of my biggest hormonal issues is progesterone. And so because I wasn't producing enough of that in those initial days postpartum, I was really struggling to turn my colostrum milk over to my mature milk. And it got to a point where I was getting close to that 5th day and Mackenzie was getting really hungry, right? And so we were not opposed to supplementing, but we were really wanting to explore other options before supplementing. And I am so glad looking back that I did encapsulate, because I wasn't really like thrilled about it. I was just like, all right, I mean, I guess if it's an option, it's an affordable option to see. It might work, it might not work. And I am telling you just from my own personal experience, and of course the pills were just one factor, but within 12 hours of my doula bringing my pills to me, my mature milk came in, and things changed so drastically within those 12 hours, not only in terms of how Mackenzie was doing and how she was, now able to consume a higher quantity of milk, but I felt so much relief and like that pressure, and I was able to breathe of like, okay, wow, I can actually see that my milk is turning over. And so I think just like my individual hormonal state, it was a really good option. And I'm so glad that I took the chance on a really small investment to see that it was exactly what I personally needed. And you're not out a lot of money if for some reason it doesn't provide that one part that you're
like
hoping for.
Bullet. Yeah, for sure. And I think like just kind of wrapping this all up in a bow of like our top 5, I think for a lot of moms consuming it does feel symbolic, going back to the roots, going back to how long this ritual has been in existence. It does and can feel very ritualistic to some moms. And so it's a way to honor this incredible organ that you grew,
which is amazing,
all on your own, like literally
while also growing a baby.
Grew a baby, that sustained your baby for 9 months.
Amazing.
It's just an incredible organ.
Yeah.
They're all incredible, but this one in particular is just very special. And for a lot of others, it's can be about empowerment as well, and kind of wrapping the bow nice and tightly on your birth journey and experience. So for whatever, top reasons that women have or that moms have, like I do like this one because this is an individual experience. This is an individual choice. It's how your body responds is unique to you. But I just love that this is a unique experience based on however you decide that this is going to turn out for you. So it's just so great.
And it's an option.
Yeah,
it's an option available to you. And say, even after hearing that it's, it's in a capsule, it's, fine powder, you're not like consuming a chunk of your placenta. You could do that.
Do whatever you want. No shame.
But that it's just an option available to you. But if even hearing, after this episode, we also want you to know that there are other things you could do with your placenta if encapsulating is not for you. We will, though, in terms of this service, we'll link below kind of just more information, more testimonials, cost, what that service looks like. Will all be linked below. We don't need to go into detail on this episode with that, but if you are interested or have any questions, please reach out. But if you are not interested in consuming your placenta, like I said earlier, my friend was like, well, you're going to bury it in your backyard, right? Like that is a ritual approach with your placenta. But one other use that we have found a lot of our clients are loving is donating your placenta to either, agencies like How to Mom so that we can train others on placenta encapsulation, or donating it to police dog units. Like, why the heck would we do that?
So great you asked that. Let me answer. We do this, and shout out to one of our clients who utilized this service and was incredible to share with us. But it is a training method for cadaver dogs, how they train cadaver dogs to find human remains, to do this incredible, important work that is so needed. And so it is a fantastic service. We will link it below. So take a look. It is like a as needed basis, which we also have learned. They do not have like an overflow for like placentas
storage.
They're so grateful and they're amazing. But it is an incredible way to utilize your placenta for good.
Yep. And here's the other thing too. If you are unsure and you're like, oh my goodness, I'm in labor and I still haven't made a decision, you can always freeze your placenta.
Or if you have a doula, you can also ask your doula to freeze your placenta.
Yes. Like you don't have to make that decision right away. The freezing process does decrease kind of the potency, but it's still an amazing organ that can still be very useful down the road, even if like you're looking into perimenopause time frame.
I wish I still had mine.
I still had some pills, but just know that if you're curious at all about the process or other options in regards to your placenta, we have tons of information on our website. Yes. We are always just a message away. If you have specific questions and want to connect with us on that, we would love to help you. But if you are considering placenta encapsulation, we would also love to connect with you and get you into the hands of one of our trusted encapsulators. So reach out anytime.
Yeah, reach out anytime. Thanks so much for listening. I hope that you learned a little bit about either your organ or someone that you know, their placenta, and know that you always have a choice, even when it comes to your placenta.
Yes. And I hope that if you started this episode going, oh my goodness, what the heck? Why are they talking about this? This is some crazy-ish. I hope now, after kind of hearing the knowledge, that you're like, okay, this actually does make a lot of sense.
Yeah, agreed.
So thanks so much for listening, and we will see you on the next episode.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. For show notes, links, and more information, please visit our website at howtomom.com. That's HOW, the number 2, MOM.com.
And remember, whether you're a mom, a parent, or a caregiver, you are doing great. There's progress over perfection, and we're all just figuring it out together.